this meeting and we'll see what happens. So we're going to go over navigating the Explorer views, setting up the configuration options, which I do recommend you do on your own system before you actually use the Explorer views, how to customize them, and then we'll go through some fancy stuff using charts for the Explorer views, exporting, creating a mail merge, and just a few whatever questions you have. So this is actually the Explorer view, and when we talk about Explorer views, or when you look at the help in Sage, they have what's called the navigation pane over here on the left, and on the navigation pane you can choose either preview, explore, or tasks, and depending on what you choose is what shows up right here, and right now we're looking at the preview. The preview controls what data is showing in the related fields down at the bottom. So this is the preview view down here. Up here at the top we're just looking at a customer list, but down at the bottom we're looking at the open invoices because that's what's selected on the left. When you choose the Explore option on the navigation pane, then that allows you to explore additional Explorer views. So if you've saved an Explorer view or you want to drill down further, then you'll be able to navigate using the Explore. And there's some additional navigation up here under the Explore menu where you can explore using the grid toggled on or off, which allows you to drill down and filter. And then when you choose the task view on the navigation pane, that actually allows you to go back into Sage 100 and perform any of these tasks that are related. So for example, we're looking at the customer view in this PowerPoint. If I wanted to change something that I see in the customer view, I can click on customer maintenance right over here, and it will take me to customer maintenance. If I find a customer that is in my Explorer view and I get a payment for them, I can click on enter cash receipts, and it'll actually open up cash receipts entry. Okay, so here are the configuration options, and this one I consider kind of important. So you'll want to get there by going to the Tools menu on your Explorer view, going down to Options, and then these are the options that I recommend. To turn on everything on the General tab, the bottom, the Grid Navigator buttons, that's a personal preference, so it doesn't matter if you choose those or not, but the ones on the top, I do recommend that you check. Then on the Data tab, I definitely recommend to, and I'm going to need to change this PowerPoint. This is what it defaults to, is to automatically load data when setting is loaded or changed. I recommend unchecking that. I also recommend keeping the limit row count checked, but changing the maximum number of rows to maybe 100,000 or 10,000 or something. And the reason I wanted to keep it checked is if you're looking at history invoices, you may have 500,000, a million invoices in history, and you don't want to wait an hour for it to populate, but you do want to wait a few minutes for it to populate more than 1,000 records. So usually I'll change this to like 100,000 records, and then if I get more than that, then I know that it'll tell me. And then these other options are just for formatting and emailing. Okay, and I'm going to switch over to Sage. And in Sage, to navigate to the Explorer views, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One is you can be in the module that you're wanting to check on or wanting to go to the Explorer view. So if we go to Accounts Receivable and then Explore, we can choose Customer View, Customer History Invoices, Customer Open Invoices, etc. The other way to navigate is under Business Insights and then under Explorer, and then it shows you every Explorer view available in your system. So depending on what modules you have installed will depend on what you show here. You guys will mostly just see AP, AR, and GL. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up there's a couple different ways you can do it, and the answer is it depends. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the Explorer view, and this one is for customers. So if I wanted to change my view to maybe history invoices, there's a couple different ways I can see that. One is on the preview pane, I can say, oh, I want to see history invoices. And what it's doing is for my first customer, it's showing me the history invoices down below. And you can move this stuff around. Or if I wanted to see customer open invoices, depending on what I'm choosing at the top, depends on what is I'm viewing at the bottom. But if I wanted to see open invoices for all of my customers, I can come here to Explore, and then I can navigate this way, and I can go to the open invoices. And yeah, so this one, because I was selected on my customer ABF, it actually drilled down to just that one, but I can uncheck it here, and then it will show me all available invoices. When I first started learning how to do this, I would close this and then go back and navigate and say, oh, I didn't want customer view, I would want my customer open invoices. And either way is right, isn't right or wrong. It just depends on how you want to navigate and what you want to accomplish. And I'll show you, once we get into some more fancy stuff, I'll show you some weird things about this that have frustrated me and how I get around it. Because when correct. Correct. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And before you actually use this, you're going to want to go to the Tools menu, go to Options, and then some of these are, you can just kind of play with the general settings. I like to display the rectangles around the view because it's a little easier to see. Prompt to save, change setting. It'll remind you that you didn't save this setting. Do you want to save it? If it's something that you're going to use again, then you do want to save it. But the most important one is the Data tab. I recommend unchecking this, automatically load data when setting is loaded or changed, because if you don't uncheck that and you make a change, it's going to reload. And then if you make another change, it's going to reload. And if you had 5 changes to make, it's going to reload after all 5 changes. So you might as well just wait for it to reload until you're done making all of those changes. And then changing the number of rows. It defaults to 1,000, which when you're looking at history, that's not very many. So just add a couple of zeros to that, but I wouldn't go too high on it, because if you have 1 million records, for example, that can take, a good 10, 15, 30 minutes for it to load, depending on how fast your system is. So you want to have it big enough to give you the data that you want, but also small enough that it's not going to take forever. And I have gotten stuck on this before because I have one client in Vancouver that bills in accounts receivable a minimum of 30,000 invoices a month. Yeah. So when I'm trying to troubleshoot some data for them, I change the setting to automatically load. I uncheck that, and I also change the maximum number of rows because I didn't want to see all 30,000. I didn't want to wait half an hour for it to load. I only wanted to see about 10,000 because I want to see the data for just one specific customer, for example. Yeah, and you could, I mean, once you set it once, they should be good for everything, because 1,000 isn't enough, and you'll just want to add. I would recommend adding at least 2 zeros to it to make it 100,000, and then unchecking this box. I can't remember if it applies to the different modules, but yes, it does apply to everything within this module. You can change the font and the system colors and all that stuff. Emailing, you can change what email format options for the grid. If you do web page, it'll create a web page for you to create a mail merge through email or an Excel workbook. Oh, let me take that back actually. This is what export file you would use for emailing. So I usually use Excel workbook because I'm much more fluent in Excel. I know what it's going to do, and that's usually what I want out of this anyway. And then chart, you can choose to display the series values in a legend, and then you just click apply. Now we did make some changes to this view, and if I go ahead and change anything, so like I can take any of these columns and just drag them off the screen and then they go away. So I'm not seeing them anymore. So just like in Excel or any other program, there's 5 different ways to accomplish the same thing. So in my PowerPoint, I have one way, which is navigating through the menus, but out of practice, what I do is I right-click here and I go to column settings. So if you right-click on the header, any of the headers, just right-click up in that header bar, then you can choose column settings, and then here you can add any of the columns back. Yep. So yeah, if credit limit isn't as important as everything else, I can move it to the end. Address, city, state, and zip code I have, and yeah, I can move those over here. Nope, it doesn't save your changes automatically. If I close this window, it's going to say, oh, the view has changed. Do you want to save the settings? I'm going to cancel. And how you save them is you just click right here on the little disk, save settings, and then you're going to name your setting. I'm just going to call it my customer view. You can save it as a public setting or a private setting. If you save it as a private setting, it's only available to you. If you save it as a public setting, then it's going to be available for everyone. So I wouldn't, I don't know. I never tried. is weird. I don't know. So I now have a test setting and a my customer view setting. If we go here to no, it's not there. So if we come down here to the left where it says Explore, oh no, that's for the drill down. Sorry about that. I went off. So here, under the settings, these are the settings for my customers. So I can choose the standard view, which is back to what it was. But notice it didn't load the data. So if I want the data to load, I have to hit this little icon here, refresh data, or the F9 button, and then it'll load. So that's the standard setting. Here's, yes. Yep. And then if we go, it'll refresh automatically. So with every single little change you do, it refreshes. And when you're getting into filtering, it's a pain in the butt because you might want to filter on 3 different things and change the sort order and then drill down. And it's like, I don't want it to refresh every single time. I want it to wait. So when you get a blank, so I'm going to change it back to my customer view. So it's blank and you think, oh no, I did something wrong. No, you didn't. You just have to hit that little button. Yes. And like I said, there's 5 different ways of doing the same thing. I can do file and then save setting or delete setting. Those would be these right here. Oh, and then these are the filters, which is under the data tab. And these are the column selection. This is under the, which one is that under? I can't remember what this section is under. I just learned to use the icons, and yes, if you hover over them. And some of these, it's like, okay, I can't remember which ones they are, so I always hover over these right here because I don't use them very often. So this customer view, right now I have selected customer sales by history period, but I can change it to customer payments, and it's going to show me the customer payments for the customer that I'm choosing above. Or open invoices, it'll show me the open invoices for what I'm doing above. I can double click and it'll drill down on those open invoices for that customer. I can click the back button up here and it'll take me back. So let me drill down on the open invoices for this one. Yep, you do. So you may decide, once you've played with it a little bit, that once you're familiar with your data, and I have demo data, so I know keeping this checked is fine, but when I've worked with customers before, I've needed to uncheck it because it just takes forever. So my demo data will automatically load perfectly quickly, but when I'm working on a customer system, I always uncheck that. So if you don't have that much data, you may decide that, yeah, I can keep that checked and it'll just automatically refresh and it's not that much of a hindrance. Exactly. So you can filter. This works just like Excel, where you can click on the little drop downs here and filter. So if I only want to see my customers in California, yeah, I have a list of customers in California. I can tell that the filter's applied because that little drop down is now blue instead of black. And then I can go back to clear and it'll add in the rest of them. Custom would mean that you're creating your own custom view, but you can only filter on values that are in that column. So if I wanted, so if I wanted to do California and Wisconsin, I can do that. Actually, it would be or Wisconsin. There we go. So that would be what the custom is for. And this works very similar to Excel. So you can filter on the blanks, the non-blanks, create your own custom filter or filter on a specific one. You can also group. So I have divisions set up here. For my customers, I have 3 different divisions. So if I drag my division up here, I can see that I have 1 customer here for division 00. Here's another 9 customers for division 01, and then 10 customers for division 02. It's very similar to a pivot table. That's where I was headed right next. So here you have you have summary footer and your group summary footer. So I usually toggle both of these on because I think the more calculations I can do, the better. So I'm going to toggle this one on and toggle this one on. The group summary footer, you can always say it's always visible or it's only visible when the group is expanded. I'm going to choose always visible so that way you can see what everything is. So when I chose these summary footers and group summary footers, it added in these little summary things. You can only add totals for amounts, obviously. So if I do a right click on the amount current balance column, I can say I want to sum it, and then it'll sum it for all the columns, all the groups, and then down here I can say I want to sum it for the total. So I have 3 groups with the sums. Now the credit limit, I don't really care about summing the credit limit. Maybe I want to count it so then I can see how many customers I have in each one. You can also do averages, mins, and maxes. So we'll do sums for all of these. And then if I want to minimize the groups, there's a way to, there we go. If you right click here, so if you just click right here, it'll minimize that group, but if you right click, you can expand or collapse all groups. And then I can see, oh look, here's my aging total by division. Now, one thing that I've done before is I've created these for customers, and I'm not very good at crystal reports, so creating a report where they just want like a summary report, I'm not really good at it. So I've done it here with the Explorer views, and it's like, oh, here's the report, and they're like, okay, now I need to export this to Excel. When you export it to Excel, you're getting all the detail. You can't export just the summary. But you may be able to print just the summary. Nope, it prints everything. Yeah, that's one of the enhancement requests I sent to Sage a long time ago. I'm like, you should be able to choose if you want to export just the detail or the summary, but they haven't done that yet. So the only way to export that I've found is go to the File menu, choose Export Options, and then you can choose Excel, and it exports all the detail. It doesn't include any of the summaries that you did. But it's just the data. So from here, if I get it into Excel, then I'll do a pivot table, and then I have what I want. Not if you want to export them now. And when they came up with this, they're like, okay, you're going to use the views. And from the views, it's like, oh, look, if I want to know what my aging is, I can create this summarized view for my aging report. And it's like, oh yeah, so here's my totals. Now I get a whole bunch of money in the mail, and I can come here to tasks while I'm looking at this, and I can say, oh yeah, let me enter my cash receipts, and it'll open up cash receipt entry without having to navigate back through Sage like we normally do. So their idea was to use this more as a navigation tool and provide information, you know, kind of in a dashboard type view instead of exporting it. And correct. Okay, so we did groups. You can do multiple groups. So like if I wanted to group it by division and then by state, I can add another group up here, and it'll do multiple groups, and then I can have different totals for each level of group. If I don't want to do a group, I can just drag it off again. Yep. Now, I showed you the filter if I wanted to filter by state by using the drop down, and for easy filters, this is a great way, especially something that oh, I want to see California totals. Oh, now I want to see Wisconsin totals. This is the easiest way to navigate that way. But if I want to do something a little bit more complex, so I'm going to actually come out of here and not save my setting, and I'm going to go into my customer history invoices, and I'm going to get a lot more data, and I'm going to make a little more complex report. So I don't care about salesperson or PO number or tax schedule or comment, order number, order date. Okay, so my demo data is all in the year 2020. I'm going to group this again by division. I'm going to add in my totals. Now let's say I only want to see my history sales for a specific month. I could do a filter up here and say, oh yeah, it equals to greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, and then I can put my date range. But if I come down here to the bottom and I do filter builder, I have a lot of options here and they're way more fun. So this is saying it's not showing me deleted invoices. That's what XD is, which is fine because I don't want to see the deleted invoices. And I'm going to click here to add an additional condition, and I'm going to change this to my invoice date. And I'm going to say equals. And then here I can choose a specific day, or actually I'm going to change this equals. I'm going to come down and I'm going to say, oh, is this month? So where my invoice date is this month. You can make them dynamic. Correct. Correct. So there's a lot of different ones that are here. And that's why I like to use that filter builder rather than the drop downs, because I can be a lot more dynamic with it, especially with the dates. And then I can add additional conditions too. So my invoice date is this month, and then I want to say my invoice total is greater than 3,500. And then you can save that setting. That's a good question. No. No, you can't. But that goes to what I was going to show you next, which if we right click up here again and go down to the column settings, which is where I can add the columns back if I wanted to, I can actually add additional columns from related tables. So here in my customer history invoices, I don't have a an address field because it's not stored in that table. But if I go to my customer, I can add in the state. So now I have the state. Also, I can click on calculated and I can create my own calculation. So if I'm calculating commissions, for example, based on the subtotal, first I need to create which you can embed these calculations, but usually I do them separately until I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to actually create one for subtotal, and my subtotal is going to be my AR invoice header, and then it's taxable and non-taxable. Taxable sales amount plus my non-taxable sales amount. And I can format it. So it is currency, change the column width, refresh. So I have my state and my subtotal. And then if I wanted to do another calculation, I can say my subtotal times 10%. Format that so it's currency. And then it calculated that 10%. So if you can figure out how to do your calculations inside the data, then you can do that. So the different calculations that I've done is, let's say, actually we'll do customer name. So here I have the field customer name, and I can actually put that in a function, and these are all the functions that are available. So if I wanted to calculate the difference on an amount, I could do that. You can do days to calculate off those days. A length, a month name, you can add now. Substring, there's a ton of these that are available. Ones that I've done before are like the left and then a right. Pardon me? Yeah. So if I insert left, then it's going to say this is the function, and the string is going to be customer name. And then the count is going to be like 5. And then I've done another function off of this function to where I'm saying I want like the right to, which that actually calculates a mid because there's not a mid in here. And I've had to do that before for another client in the general ledger because the way the Explorer views work for general ledger data is it wasn't giving me the segments that I needed, and they actually needed like the third character of their first segment and then the last character of their middle segment. And I had to use lefts and rights off of those additional functions in order to do that calculation. We'll call this. And I can't remember off the top of my head, so let's actually look in general ledger. We'll go to account transactions view. It does. You'd have to do like a left. So like if your first segment is 4 and your second segment is 2, off your account you're going to say I want the left 6, and then off the left 6 you're going to say I want the right 2, and then that gives you the mid. Yeah, see, and I actually had to work with a programmer who was brilliant who gave me that idea. I'm like, how come I didn't think of that? I can't remember if I did that. I know I asked them about the summarized views, because I think that would be so cool that you could actually print the summarized views, even if you can't export it, printing it. I just want a report that shows me what are my summaries. I don't need all the detail. Yeah, exactly. And even if you can't export it, which I kind of understand not exporting it, because if you're exporting it, you want all the detail behind it because you might want to drill down on it anyway. But printing it, people want to report. Yeah, and that's what we ended up doing for this other customer. I'm like, okay, this is how you take a screenshot, and then you paste it in Word or an email, and then you got your report. And they ended up doing that, and it's faster than and less expensive than writing a custom report that summarizes that data. So yeah, with the general ledger stuff, it doesn't allow us to give the specific segments. So you will have to do like a left and then a right. And also with the general ledger, you'll want to do calculated and do the net, which is just the debits minus the credits. And then you'll also want to use that filter builder and use conditions based on the date or maybe an account number. I want the other. Okay, so a couple other things that you can do is on the charts, and actually let's get rid of the filter. So there's a couple things that you can do to navigate through this really easily. Filter builder, and you can just delete the filters by just saying remove row. You can also just uncheck, just clear that, and that'll remove all those filters down here at the bottom where it says filter is empty. Then on the chart tab, you can actually create charts. Why isn't it creating a chart? Because I don't have anything in my series. That would help. So I'll do invoice total and then group it by customer. And sort it by invoice total. Or I can group it by invoice date. And I've not tried to print this. I don't know if that would, so that does print. Uh-huh, correct. I don't think so. Not that I've seen. So let me show you something else that is available. And I don't usually go over this in this webinar, but it's totally easy to do. So one of the navigation ways I said is just to go to Business Insights. One of the options here is a dashboard. So with the dashboard, you have limited options. You can add a logo. You can choose the number of data you want in your charts. You can have it automatically update. And then the dashboard, you can choose what you want it to display. So you can do it by user. I keep opening up the same window over and over again. There's a wizard that'll walk you through it. And you can choose what to show on your dashboard. So if you wanted to see like your payables, aging, top vendors, receivables, aging, top customers, and maybe a balance sheet summary. Profitability ratios. You can change the sizes and the options, and that will actually show you a lot more data. So that's no, they can be, but not necessarily. It depends on what chart you created in the Explorer view. If you did a payables aging chart, then yes, it would. Top vendors, I don't know if that's possible in the, it might be possible. But from here, you actually get a combination of data along with the chart. And then here you can actually click to navigate and print different reports. So the dashboards you can play with and see if that gives you data that you want. The bummer about them is they're limited. People usually want everything except for this one thing that it can't do. And then they're like, well, then the dashboards are pretty useless. We've done webinars on them before, and everyone's like, well, I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do this, and they get all fancy, and it's like, okay, export the data to Excel, and we can get you whatever kind of chart you want. But these are, it's a good bird's eye view. You know, you just want to see what your aging is, your top customers, profitability ratios, balance sheet summary. You know, you can get that information rather quickly, and it's there all the time. And you can have it update automatically or just update once a day, depending on how you want to use it. So if you wanted to do something more fancy than these, then you can try those dashboards and see if that gives you what you want. No. Mm-mm. 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 Nope, this is just Sage. This is all built into standard Sage. It's called Business Insights. Biz Insight is, yeah, it's different. I try to stay away from those terms. That's why we call it the Explorer views. It's like, technically in Sage it's called Business Insights Explorer, but it confuses all of our customers that have Biz Insight, and they're disappointed when they attend this webinar because they thought it was something on Biz Insight. So we just started calling it Explorer views. You can export these to Excel, and you saw what that looks like. You can also export it to a web page, to text, XML, which is another web page, Microsoft Query definition, which is fancy and I've never actually done. I usually create my own Microsoft Query if I need that. I haven't done it from the Explorer views, but I have done the mail merges. So if I wanted to do a mail merge for my customers, which actually, I'm going to come over here to Explore. No, in this case, I actually have to go back to my customer view. So I'm going to go back to my customer view. And I'm going to choose my customer view and refresh that. And then the export options, I'm going to do Microsoft Office merge, and I'm going to do a Word merge. And then I can choose my mail merge. And it's going to replace my data on the CSV that I did the last time I created my webinar. And here's my mail merge, and it's already linked the data to my mail merge document, which I had previously created. So if I just do finish mail merge, it looks like I did a wrong mail merge. That's because I did this on an older version. No, I have the same mail merge documents. Current balance is there. I don't have a past due amount. So if I wanted to add a past due amount, I can add another calculated setting. And the other way around, I think. I have a past due, so let's do mail merge, word merge. Okay. I didn't practice this before we started today. Have you guys done mail merges before? Mm-hmm. You lose it. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what this. Well, I broke mine. Okay. Is mail merge something that you're going to, do you think you would use, or? So here I have directions. Yay! And I did, yeah. And I have gone through the mail merge a couple of times and it's worked seamlessly, but it was in a previous version of Sage that I did it, so I obviously didn't update it and didn't think about it. And I really made this mad. So yeah, I'll give you guys those instructions. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty nice. This talks about how to do your charts, saving your settings, customizing your filters, which we went through that filter builder. And then one thing that I've done, oh look, there's the message that it was stuck on. So we'll just cancel that. A couple things on the views that I found is sometimes a customer will want like the history invoices, and you can create a history invoices view, but then they want something additional like that's showing down here, but they want that at the top grid. And if you can't get there, what I've done before is I've created the view on the top, or like in my customers, then when you double click, it drills down and it moves. Here we go. It moves the view to the top and you can refresh it. And then from there, you can take off the filters and then it'll give you everything that you need that was down at the bottom on the top. And then you can save that setting, but the only way to navigate to it is by doing what I just did. So I'm gonna make a couple changes to this. Yep. Correct. So when I go back, I'm back to my customer setting. And I think it was history invoices. Nope, it was open invoices I was looking at. And then if I double click on here, from here, I can see my new setting that I created. But until I double click, I won't see that setting. And one thing that is frustrating is it remembers that filter, so you just have to uncheck it every single time. So even if I save it again and I drill down, it's going to apply that filter again. Yeah, and this you may, yeah. Yeah, if typically, yeah, if you navigate this way, customer open invoices, you're going to get that view. And then there's my view again. But it, oh, and it didn't apply it. So mostly what I wanted, that's just a setting that I created. I saved a setting that I called export. No, I just called it export. I could have called it test. Yeah, sorry. Oh, and one more thing that I can show you is here there's search columns. So you can have it search in a specific column or in all columns. So if you're looking for the word business, it'll find everything that has business in it. Or corp. It'll find that. And I have found this actually very helpful when I'm looking for dollar amounts. I know I need $94.05, but I don't want to look through 50,000 invoices. Look, there it is. Okay. Any other questions? That's true, because I went through one of the webinars that Sage put on a long time ago, and I'm like, I don't get it. And then I started playing with it, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if I can do this. And then I started doing all kinds of stuff, and then I contacted Sage a couple times going, can I do this? And they'd say no. Or can I do this? Well, let's see, maybe try this. And, you know, they gave me some ideas. So you guys can try some things. If you can't figure it out, let me know, and I can probably quickly tell you whether it's possible or not. Yep, you'll get an email, and then once we get the feedback, then you'll get a PDF of this PowerPoint. You're very welcome. Okay, if you have questions once you get the PowerPoint, just shoot me an email and let me know. Okay, you're welcome. Bye, guys.